I love this idea. The old adage, Albin, has been build 3 episodes, 3 solid killer episodes, promote the heck out of them, and then release your podcast. But you don't have to do it that way.
No, I even think it might be preferable not to do that way. We can talk about where that myth came from in a second, but the idea that you are trying to get into new and noteworthy and you're trying to blow up make this huge splash with your podcast, it would be exciting if that all works out. But the downside is that people then lean way into perfectionism and they never launch and they get tied up going, well, I've heard really good podcasts. I've listened to Serial and Radio Lab and 99% Invisible, and I know what a good podcast sounds like. And I don't sound like those shows.
Right.
And so they delay and delay and delay. And soon enough, we're 2 years on. These are like true stories that people who've started with Buzzsprout have had. They'll be 2 years in without releasing it because everything has to be perfect.
2 years.
Yeah, the first person I ever met, first conference I ever went to, December 16th, 2014, and I met someone, and he was just about to launch, and then we saw each other at Podcast Movement, and he was just about to launch. Oh, no. And I saw him a year later, and he was just about to launch. And these were the same episodes being re-edited over and over. And, you know, it shocked me the first time it happened. And then I realized this was a very common thing that would happen across podcasters because we all are hyping it up so much. And the antidote, in my mind, is it comes from the restaurant world. I used to wait tables, and when you work in restaurants have what's called cold open or soft open, where you just are inviting friends and family to work out the kinks. And if somebody walks by the restaurant, walks in, that's great, but the wait staff get to figure out how all the systems work, and the managers get to see how the front house and back house interact, and the cooks get to cook things, and it's just low stakes. And by being low stakes, everyone's comfortable and everyone's learning, and you smooth out all of the rough patches before the grand opening. And so I've been pitching this to podcasters now for almost 10 years, and I really think it's the right way to launch a lot of shows.
Yeah, me too. The whole 3 episodes thing. First of all, the issue is we slave away on the first episode, which inevitably is like the pilot of here's what this is all going to be about.
Right.
Then we have some killer guests for episode 2, and then episode 3 it's good, but we don't quite, do it. The way these come out in the directories in the apps is number 3 is the most recent.
Right.
And so everybody listens to number 3, and sure, the odd person goes back to number 1. Number 2, that killer thing, that episode, the killer guest you worked on, at the beginning at least, that gets left in the dust. That's my understanding of the origin of the 3 mythical episodes to launch.
Yeah, this came from Apple New and Noteworthy, from my understanding. So
okay.
Apple New and Noteworthy, people used to debate for a long period, is it Apple's collection of new and noteworthy podcasts, or do the podcasts have to be new and noteworthy? That's a kind of a fuzzy way of saying it, but do you have to be new to get into new and noteworthy? The answer is no. It can be a noteworthy podcast or a new podcast. But that name threw a lot of people off. And there's this myth, you can only ever be featured there in the first 8 weeks that your podcast is out. And that was just a myth somebody came up with. Oh. And so the solution to getting hype around your podcast during those first 8 weeks, which were never real, the solution was launch with 3 episodes. Because if you launch with 3 episodes, Apple sees 3 plays, you juice the numbers a bit more, everyone's pumped up, and you rise up the charts, and then you get
people can binge your stuff, so to speak, if they really like it. It's kind of like a Netflix experience. I want to watch another
Netflix experience, except that they've got a team of hundreds of people and $50 million, and I've got spare time between putting my kids to bed and going to sleep myself to put this podcast together. And it was just a exercise in overstressing the bit of time people had to do creative work. And the result was more people weren't launching. And the effect was nobody was getting into Do It Noteworthy who was following these, you must have 3 episodes clip because when they weren't really launching. So you've got to launch the podcast. That is not a myth.
So you outlined the soft launch approach, which I really like. And I work with clients all the time who are new to podcasting or even new to broadcasting in some way. But Buzzsprout being absolutely one of the best apps for hosting your podcast, for establishing your RSS feed with that easy interface for new podcasters, and a lot of podcasters crossing over to Buzzsprout from other apps. What do you see from the newbies in particular? What are the questions that Priscilla and team from Buzzsprout support are hearing from people? And what are the cookies they need to keep going? Because so many podcasters pod fade, and I think it's 9 out of 10 quit in the first 6 months, something like that. And you want them to keep going, or at least keep their feed alive.
All right, so I'll give you some of the questions, and then I will tell you what questions I think people should be focusing on. The questions are: what's the best mic? How do I go viral? How do I grow?
How do I go
fast?
viral? Oh, no.
I got an email once that said how to go viral. That was the entire email. People want to know technical questions and editing tips and how to get into directories and just kind of basic questions.
Yeah.
But the gear and growth and monetization questions, I mostly think let's table those until we're putting out episodes. Let's focus on some real hard questions that you have to answer. And the hard questions are, why are you doing a podcast? Are you doing it because you want to be a thought leader? Are you doing it to market a business? Are you doing it because it's a fun hobby, to connect with an old friend? What's the reason? Or is it to quit your day job? Answer that question. What is your audience getting from this? And why can't they get it somewhere else? Think through those questions. And then you've just got to wrestle with the discomfort of hearing your own voice and putting it out to the world and praying that you find an audience. And for me, the fear of a lot of people are going to judge this. They're going to make fun of it. Friends from high school and college will think, what a nerd. He's starting a podcast just like everybody else. The truth is none of them will ever find the podcast, so you're safe. And most of the people who do find it will write you really nice things. But it's the emotional problems, the emotional challenges that come up. It's the thinking through your goals. Those are tough. And you don't want to procrastinate on taking on those challenges because that's what I think the gear searches are for. When I was looking for the perfect setup, what I was really doing was procrastinating from answering the question, why would people listen to my marketing podcast? What's the value there? What would they get from that rather than from another great podcast? And instead of answer that, I just kind of meander over to the gear section and watch another YouTube tutorial on how to set something up. Really, I just needed to answer those solid foundational questions.
Sometimes I get the question, well, there's too many podcasts now. And somebody says, I saw there's 5 million podcasts, or from the podcast index, I think it's stuck at 4.3, 4.4. Reality is not a lot of new episodes, really. There's like 300,000 podcasts that have published a new episode in the last 30 days. When someone says to you, is there still room for more podcasts? Are you like, yeah, I think so? Or are you like, yeah, duh? It depends on the niche, I know, and all that. But what's your reaction to that?
I mean, I remember hearing a stat once that there's over 100 books written every year about Shakespeare. Not like just about a historical figure and impact on literature. Over 100 books every year being written about Shakespeare. No one's saying, is this oversaturated? Because it just is kind of strange to me. Like, we think 3 million podcasts is just enough. There's millions and millions of books being published every day or every year, millions of blog posts every day, millions of YouTube videos every day, millions of songs. And yet, when it comes to podcast, we are much harsher. 4 million ever are out there. And a majority of those are people who did a season, did this for a period of life, experimented, and then hit pause.
Yeah.
If you can commit yourself to 10 episodes of your podcast and publishing one in the last 90 days, so keeping it going and getting past 10, you're already going to be in a group of like 300,000 podcasts. You're in the top 10% already. And if you continue going for a couple years, then you're going to build a really good audience. You're going to find a bit more of what your distinct focus is going to be, your unique take. And your audience will tell you, hey, here's what I was getting from you. I couldn't get from anywhere else. Here's why I love the show. So 3 million, 4 million, they sound like really big numbers until you realize it's for the entire world. And a majority, 90% of this podcast, aren't actively putting out new shows and with any significant back catalog.
To podcast or not to podcast? That might be the question. Albin, I really appreciate your time today.
Doug, thank you so much for having me. I'd love to come on again and make it a regular thing.